Thank you, both of you, for powerful and thought-provoking arguments. Things are only going to get more exciting and fast-paced as we go. Next is rebuttals. As you listen, think about points that you would like brought up that were not brought up. Write those down on your question cards, which we'll be asking for shortly. First up for rebuttal is, again, Dan Barker. You have 8 minutes.
The essential feature of a blue triangle is that it have 3 sides and that it be blue. Right? Otherwise, you don't have a blue triangle. You can define anything you want into existence and then define what you want it to be essential or not. In fact, a triangle is just a subset. A triangle is just a polygon. A triangle is not an essential polygon. What is the essential feature of a polygon? It has to have 3 or more sides to it. So, you're playing with words here by trying to say that there are features that are essential or not. We decide for ourselves what we think is going to be the thing we're calling essential. So you can say the essential feature of a multicolored polygon is that it be a polygon with multicolors. You can talk all you want. That's why Bertrand Russell was talking about bad grammar. You're trying to bring things into existence that are just mental constructs for the way that we view the world. You made an amazing statement during your opening statement. You said that existence is a non-essential feature of something. But existence is not a feature. Existence is not a characteristic. You cannot have a feature of anything unless it is a thing, unless it exists. Existence is not something that you have. It is not something you possess. It wouldn't be like, oh, I have this skin color, I have this hair color, I have this height. Oh, by the way, I also have existence. You're confusing with words. You're comparing apples and oranges. You are equivocating. That's the word I'm looking for. You're equivocating by thinking that existence somehow is a characteristic or a feature of a thing that exists. How can existence be a feature of a thing that exists? It has to exist. It has to be a thing before. Then you can start saying that there are features to it. What about a block of iron that's not magnetized, but you run a current through it? Is it essentially a magnet or not? It's a magnet when the current's running through it. It's an electromagnet. But is that an essential feature? Suppose the magnet you were holding up here were actually an electromagnet. It's the same idea. So to say that magnetism is an essential feature of a magnet is just to say that there's been an electromagnetic current or an alignment of the molecules within that medium. And then you say God exists infinitely, and yet infinite things can't exist. Well, which way is it? If you can't have an infinite existence of things, then how can God even exist? Because He is, by your definition, an infinitely existing thing. But I want to talk more about morality, because that's, I think, where most of us live our lives. You are wrong on all those counts about morality. Yes, we can find morality within nature, and we do find morality within nature. Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter asking, if God is the source of morality, how do you explain all the virtuous atheists that are in the world? And he named a bunch of them. Condorcet, D'Alembert. These are good men, and they are atheists, and they don't believe in God. Morality must have some other source than God, and he was right. He thought it was instinct, and actually he predated Darwin. He predated evolution, and he was pretty much right. We do have altruistic instincts that we share with other creatures. Other animals have altruism and empathy and cooperation. They sacrifice for each other. They have cross-species cooperation with each other. The work of Franz Duval and others pointing out that we are not the only species that have these moral impulses within us. We share them with other animals because we are animals. We have instincts that came to us from the minds of our ancestors. The decisions that our ancestors made that leaned towards survival, we inherited, and therefore, I was in the Detroit airport about 20 years ago, and I wasn't even looking, but the corner of my eye saw this little baby kick, and the baby carrier rolled off the top of the luggage to fall down to the hard marble floor. I saw my arm stretch and reach over, and I caught that thing with my fingertips. And a second later, the mother caught it too. And we were both like, whoa, that was scary. I wasn't contemplating Jesus. I wasn't thinking about God. I wasn't I wasn't even noticing it, just my instinctive reach, and you would have done the same thing, right? You instinctively would have done it. We come pre-packaged with moral impulses from our natural ancestors. We also do get some guidance from the law. The law is not always perfect, and the law is flexible. We do get some guidance from the combined wisdom of our society, which can help us. Sometimes we are bad laws, but in general, we should at least consider the laws. And of course, the primary way to be a moral person is not through thinking that this being is putting these impulses within you. It's through reason. It's through thinking. The reason why certain actions are wrong, like torturing a baby for no reason, is not that there's some cosmic absolute code. Because what if God said it's okay to torture babies? In fact, in the Bible, God did say that, and I will quote that to you during cross-examination. If God said it's okay to kill babies, then would it be okay? We have moral impulses not because of some absolute moral standard, but because of harm. The principle is harm. If your intention is to act in a way that minimizes real harm in the real world, that's what morality means, if you are mentally healthy. Some people are not. There's probably some people in this room who might be at the edge of the bell curve of who knows what. And we have systems of law in prison. Most of you are good people. We're here on this side of it. We inherit from our ancestors natural altruistic instincts. We get from our society guidance in the form of law. And using reason, you look at your actions, you say, should I torture this baby or shouldn't I? My goodness, what should I do? Well, which action results in less harm? Usually moral dilemmas are a conflict of values, and you might have to pick the lesser of two evils or try to weigh it. But if you are acting in a reasonable way to determine the likely consequences of the actions you are contemplating, and you are weighing them with the intention of committing an action that results in the least amount of real harm. Harm is physical. Harm is natural. A moral decision is a natural, materialistic decision. It's not some foggy, Jesus tell me what to do thing. It's using your brain, using your reason to come to an informed, and if you're wrong, well, you learn from that, hopefully, and you will grow and you try to be as informed as you can. So the harm principle obviates the need for some transcendent being. And I guess we're almost out of time. We talked about whether unicorns exist. I think most of us don't believe in unicorns or leprechauns, although I had a box of Lucky Charms the other day and I saw evidence for leprechauns. But some people say, well, you don't believe in unicorns, why aren't you out? Why don't you call yourself an a-unicornist and go up and do debates about unicorns? Well, if the unicornists were working to limit human freedom and women's rights and gay marriage and science and stem cell research, and if they were fighting against freedom and equality, well then I would be an a-unicornist, just as I am an atheist, because on balance, theism, for all the good that theists do, on balance theism is more of a negative and more of a danger to the world that should be resisted. We're going to go into rebuttals now, right? Your rebuttal.
Yeah.